Hey everyone, how's it go? Wait, wrong one. Today we're going to be doing a Pokemon Red and Blue solo run with only Hitmonlee. No, not that. How's it going, YouTube? So Hitmonlee. Not exactly my preferred fighting type from Kanto. I've been a Machamp person myself, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a soft spot for Poliwrath, but Hitmonlee was just... well, this generation he wasn't good. Hitmonlee has gotten better over the years. That's one thing I'm quite thankful for. But right now, he's not so hot. Looking at his stats, you may be tempted with that base 120 attack. That's the 8th highest in the game. But it comes at a glaring cost. His speed leaves some to be desired, especially competitively. And his bulk is... well, non-existent would be a kind word. I'm fairly certain if Hitmonlee's Gen 1 bulk was a physical embodiment, it'd be a black hole. That speed, by the way, though it is base 87 and will be serviceable for most of the run, is in an awkward spot for this run. We'll get to that later. The only thing that could complement such barren stats would be a barren move pool, and of course, since Hitmonlee is a Generation 1 pure fighting type, he delivers that as well, as he learns no attacking moves outside of the normal and fighting types. Well, you know what that means, folks. Ghastly wins, runs over. Congratulations to my favorite evolutionary line for defeating Hitmonlee before it ever stood a chance. I hope you enjoyed, and of course, that's not at all the case. I wouldn't have made this video if I didn't truly believe the words that came out of my mouth this time. Hitmonlee can, in fact, defeat Pokemon Red with minimum battles despite everything going against him and without having to resort to the Confuse Ray luck like Vulpix would have to. How much luck and planning does it take, however? Originally, I had done this run mid to late 2021, towards the tail end of the time the world needed to be bricked up for being a bad boy. I even took extensive notes about the run, still have them. Strangely, I barely remembered much about it sometime later. I do remember it being difficult in a few unusual places, but I didn't quite recognize how, even with the limitations we talked about before. The reason I decided to not only go back and do the run again, but also make a video, is because of a specific comic made by Dwundi016. Dwundo16. Dwundoig. I feel like J-Rose11 pronouncing Arcanine's name. Arcanine? Arcanine? Yeah, one of those is right, yeah. Anyways, for this run to be as fair as possible, I chose not to open my notes before starting the run. I did maximize Hitmonlee's DVs, so once I got them, I saved, went to Pokehacks, maximized them, and now we're gonna make sure Hitmonlee gets a sporting chance, and I don't get as big of a headache as I did the last time. For my rival starter, I chose for blue to go with Charizard. I know what some of you are thinking. Paul, Bulbasaur resist Hitmonlee from word go. Why would you pick Charmander to start? That may not seem as obvious now, but believe me when I say it will come back. For now, Charmander is not a hard Pokemon to defeat. And speaking of, let's go ahead and go over Hitmonlee's move pool in more detail just to get an idea of how this section of the game might go. He starts with Double Kick and Meditate. Double Kick when combined with a normal type move is actually a pretty good combination for the early game, but by itself... Meditate, however, this is Hitmonlee's most important move. It's the only stat boosting move he gets, and it's a good thing it increases attack. Beyond that, Hitmonlee doesn't learn a level up move until 33, and truth be told, it's a pretty major downgrade given Rolling Kick only has an 85% accuracy. Hitmonlee's most notable merits as a fighting type this generation are right in plain sight. His signature moves, Jump Kick and High Jump Kick. High Jump Kick is considered the best fighting type move this generation, and Hitmonlee is the literal only Pokemon to get it. For now. I'll discuss the TM and HM moves later down, as they won't be as important for a long time to come. Now, if you think we're about to start up on Brock, you're absolutely wrong. Hitmonlee actually has a major problem with the run, starting with only the second mandatory battle. This bug catcher just so happens to have a level 9 Weedle, a bug poison type. That combination doubly resists fighting type moves, meaning to damage it decently and get through, you need to set up numerous meditates. This gives the Weedle plenty of opportunities to either reduce your speed or poison you with Poison Sting, which does 3 damage by itself and poison deals 1 per turn, a scary amount this early in the run. It does take a couple tries, but this trainer can be minimally lucked through. What helps somewhat is when the AI goes for String Shot, but it fails and wastes a turn. Generation 1 and 2's AI has it to where their status moves have a 25% reduced chance of succeeding against you, so as long as I can stay faster, I can guarantee a little less is dealt. This would be much easier if I had a normal type move, though this is not the section of the game that will prove it. Now, when it comes to Brock, I actually do lose the first time, but that was entirely because I was preparing for something that didn't happen. Let me explain. To start, Geodude is a 2-hit KO and needs to be swept quickly. Did you see how much damage Hitmonlee just took? This thing needs to go away. Once Onyx was out, I expected Bide, but never got it, so I went down when trying to set up. The second fight went as I actually expected, and Brock was a simple beat this go-around. It's not like Brock is a truly hard trainer, you just kinda have to guess correctly and you'll be fine. Not too much luck, and truth be told, I've done many worse battles against Brock. If you think Route 3 will be any easier, I have some tragic news for you. Hitmonlee doesn't have an easy time getting through, as many of the Pokemon you're fighting are bug and poison types, those being Caterpie, Weedle, Ekans, and okay, Metapod is free, that doesn't count. Status starts to truly show how annoying it can be here as well. This is the section that proves the lack of a normal move means Hitmonlee will need to take more time to defeat each opponent. This makes me so thankful Hitmonlee starts with Meditate, as if you also didn't have that, this run simply wouldn't be feasible. If you can get past Route 3 and into Mount Moon, you're in luck. Not me, I didn't get any repels and I just have to sit here and take the Zubat encounters. The Mega Punch TM is available halfway through this section, and at long last you have a move that can hit all current bug and most poison types neutrally. This comes at a great time, a bit before the Rocket Grunt and Fossil Maniac at the end, but of course, since I'm a grade A moron, I forgot to teach it before the Grunt. I fortunately managed past him and taught it before the Maniac. As for my fossil of choice, I have to upset quite a few people and select the fastest option. Praise be to Lord Helix, he who was born to dance. One final note, I did catch a Paris in Mount Moon, which acts as my cut and dig user. I meant to catch a Pidgey earlier in the run, but didn't run into one. That won't be so bad later. Once in Cerulean, I choose to defeat the Goldeen trainer in Misty's gym, and at that point I had to make a decision. Do I stay here and square up against Misty, or do I attempt the second mandatory rival fight? I did kind of screw around with the Misty fight some, just to see if it was possible. Not now, so I'm doing Rival 2. Rival 2 probably should have been much harder than it was, but I assume I had an easy time because Pidgeotto missed Sand-Attack and the Gust didn't do as much as I expected. You may notice that the message "it's not very effective" comes up when I use Double Kick against Pidgeotto. You know, despite it being actually neutral against it. The many wonders of Gen 1, only considering one typing and not the actual damage dealt, even changing the sound effect to match the oddity. Abra is free and allows us to fully set up on Meditates. Rattata may be able to use Quick Attack, but I should have enough HP to live, and Charmander is a quick KO. So from what I could tell, you can survive 2 attacks. Huh. I don't really consider that too much luck given the battle's kind of infamous to begin with, not to mention at least I saw that there was a feasible victory. Nugget Bridge and the following routes are nothing special, and I helped Bill out to obtain the ticket required later. One small note is that because this is minimum battles with as little experience as possible, save for rare candies and a pinch, I can't pick up the elixir that the first optional hiker guards, though at least I can pick up the ether towards Bill's house. It wasn't needed for the run, but at least I know I could do that. Before even going through the broken-in house, I try my luck against Misty again. If I can't beat her now, I will have to skip Lieutenant Surge until later, and I really don't want to do that, so here goes nothing. I'm able to set up 2 Meditates against the Staryu in preparation for the Starmie, so when it... oh, now it speeds and crit Bubble Beam. fun. The next battle I am able to set up 2 again, and this time I survived the bubble beam. That did 37 damage out of 58 without a crit. Even worse, the +2 is not enough, meaning I have to set up 1 or 2 more times. No, apparently even 3 isn't enough, so I have to set up 4. On the attempt that I do win, another 5 tries later, I sadly land a critical hit after boosting, meaning I deal less damage than I should have. Okay, we need to pause. Some of you no doubt are a little confused with what I just said, since you may not have played the first generation extensively. Critical hits ever since Generation 2 are calculated to where they ignore any of the attacking Pokemon's offensive debuffs and the defending Pokemon's defensive buffs, including something like Reflect and Light Screen. Generation 1 straight up ignores all stat changes, meaning if you buff your offensive stats more than twice, a critical hit deals less damage. In fact, that's not entirely true in and of itself, since thanks to how damage is calculated, the Pokemon's level and any boost obtained by badges is taken into consideration for the equation. A critical hit deals slightly less damage than an attack of double power! Now, some of you might be thinking, but the crit chance used to be 6.25%. Doesn't that mean you don't have to worry about landing them as often? Wrong again, because while some people joke that Gen 1 is Gen Fun as a result of these many bizarre choices, I call Gen 1 Gen Run, since a Pokemon's crit chance is tied to their base speed. Remember when I talked about Hitmonlee's stats? Its attack and speed this generation are unique to it, the values at least, and Hitmonlee's base speed of 87 gives it a crit chance of 16.99%, so effectively 17%. This is nearly triple of what the crit chance was, and 4 times what it is now. Just in case you couldn't get the obvious foreshadowing, I'll go ahead and spoil this part. Critical hits are going to be very aggravating throughout the run. Thankfully, when I land this one against Misty's Starmie, while I felt like we just went on a completely different subject here, it only uses Water Gun, allowing Hitmonlee to land 1 more attack and seize a victory after a total of 7 attempts. This was the kind of battle, sort of, that I expected to have, and likely should have had just a little earlier. Just set up to +2, attack, and take a Water Gun and attack again. I got quite a bit of bad luck against her, didn't I? With that done, we can make our way to Rival 3. Before Blue, we do have 3 trainers in between, starting with this Rocket Grunt with Machop and Drowsy. That Drowsy is the second major threat of the run, followed only by the Starmie, but thankfully I'm able to get through without seeing one of either Hypnosis nor Confusion. On the way, we do come across what Scott's Thoughts likes to call Sandy, the junior trainer with 3 Pidgey, all of which have Sand-Attack. She's not a problem for Hitmonlee since he's strong enough to KO each one immediately. Thank Christ for that one. Going to Rival 3, this fight is easier than Rival 2 thanks to us being much stronger than last time despite his leveling and evolving. Even the Kadabra is getting outsped. Once we get the HM for cut, we teach it to Paris and go to Lieutenant Surge. But wait. Yeah, any Gen 1 players notice I didn't pick up 2 important items? Guess what? Those are behind optional battles. There's a rare candy guarded by a gentleman that wouldn't have been too hard to get, but since this is a minimum battle run, that is out of the question. The other item, and the one that genuinely hurts I have to skip, is TMO8 Body Slam. This would have been the best upgrade to Hitmonlee's moveset, as it does slightly more damage than Mega Punch, has an assumed 100 accuracy, and has a 30% chance to paralyze any non-normal types. Now, can we please just finally go to Lieutenant Surge? Now, if you expect me to make a J-Rose 11 or Scott's Thoughts joke about Surge being bad, I can't. Double Kick almost KOs Voltorb, maybe it's a range, then Lieutenant Surge uses an X speed. This means the Voltorb is faster than Hitmonlee now, but Surge goes for Screech and fails. Pikachu then goes down in a hit too. Raichu is last. Double Kick does about 2/3, but then Raichu retaliates with a powerful Thunderbolt that leaves Hitmonlee with only 6 HP. This tells me Hitmonlee would have also easily survived 2 Thunder Shocks or even a crit one. The only real dilemma is if Surge crit with Thunderbolt or if he attacked with either of his previous Pokemon before that Thunderbolt, but Thankfully that didn't happen, and now we have the third badge. And to be fair, I didn't go into the fight at full HP, just slightly below, but even with that difference, a Voltorb used Sonic Boom, I would have lost. So while I did win on my first attempt against Surge, the fight is far from guaranteed and normally requires you to wait for Surge to finally wave the white flag himself as he's supposed to. Going into the middle of the game, we have to get through 2 trainers before we go to Rock Tunnel. The first of these trainers is often nicknamed the Rapping Lass. She actually does give Hitmonlee a little scare. Thanks to a Mega Punch miss, her first Oddish lands Stun Spore and then starts going for Absorb. Even worse, Mega Punch is apparently not a guaranteed KO against Oddish. Great, more damage. It even lands a critical hit, which thankfully by itself isn't much, but it's chip damage in a battle that specializes in dealing just that. The following Bellsprout completely drops the ball and uses Growth, allowing Hitmonlee to sneak through that one. Second verse, same as the first, Oddish up, Oddish down, but this time since I leveled up after the first Bellsprout, there's a good chance that critical hit actually did not matter. Final Bellsprout decides it's time to show why this trainer has her special name in the community by rapping Hitmonlee. It only lasts 3 turns, and then she decides to just spam Growth. I suffer from paralysis, and even miss with Mega Punch, but third time's the charm, and Hitmonlee is able to progress through the Rapping Lass on his first attempt. This does leave him paralyzed, but I choose not to heal immediately, which actually doesn't hurt the run since the next and only mandatory trainer on this route isn't hard at this point. What is hard, however, is Rock Tunnel itself. Short of me forgetting repels again, this is easily Hitmonlee's endurance round of the run, as there are 5 mandatory trainers, and in a minimum battle run, at least one of them is guaranteed to cause trouble. Hitmonlee starts fairly poorly against even the first Maniac, nicknamed Slowbone by the Scott's Thoughts fanbase. Cubone actually isn't too bad, since I can just set up Meditate to increase my attack, and with the extra boost I'm getting, I take a little less damage from it as the battle progresses. Whoa, let's pause this one again. We have another Generation 1 feature to talk about, one I hinted at last time. Hitmonlee is taking progressively less damage because of a very well documented bug this generation, known as the Badge Boost glitch. Some of you older players may remember that in the first 3 generations, 4 of the 8 badges slightly increase your Pokemon's stats, while the other 4 increase the level cap in which traded Pokemon will obey you. In Generation 1, these badges increase the corresponding stat by 12.5%. These would be Brock's Boulder Badge for attack, Surge's Thunder Badge for defense, Koga's Soul Badge for speed, and Blaine's Volcano Badge for special. Oh, wait, we need to pause within a pause because within one Gen 1 mistake is yet another Gen 1 mistake. Surge is supposed to boost speed and Koga's is meant to boost defense. This isn't a playground rumor or anything, this is how it's spoken in the dialogue even now. Okay, pauseception over, now we get into the question. How am I taking less damage, and how do these badge boosts come into play? In Generation 1, every time one of your stats stages is changed, be it a standard increase or a decrease, it reapplies the 12.5% boost from whatever badges you currently have. This stays until you either switch out, which is not going to happen at any point, win the battle, which is the goal, or level up. And spoiler alert, this happens at some very inconvenient times, though at least we can plan for them more easily compared to the critical hits. With that finally out of the way, let's look at the battle and what I'm doing, that being boosting my attack with Meditate. Sadly, Hitmonlee levels up right after the Cubone, meaning I only have my attack to work with against the Slowpoke. Thankfully, if I boosted enough, it's a one-hit KO. If I didn't, or I miss, Hitmonlee will have to take a Confusion. And speaking of, the very next mandatory battle is another Slowpoke, and with no way to boost beforehand, you're going into this battle dry and it's going to end about as you expect. The problem I kept having is Mega Punch missing, once again begging for a Body Slam buff from the heavens I know would never come. When I finally do beat him, I nailed a critical hit on the first attack, which sealed the deal against him. What I had figured out in post was that the crit was actually not necessary, at least not in the grand scheme. If I went into that fight at full HP, I could more than likely survive 2 confusions, and Mega Punch would be a guaranteed 3-hit KO at worst, so really it came down to me having enough healing items and being careful against Slowbone. Sadly, I actually didn't have much as far as items. This is wholly my fault, since it's been years since I had done one of these in my spare time, and the rooting and buying aspects have become clouded. Once you think you're in the clear, you've beaten down the hardest two trainers in the cave, right? Here comes a junior trainer with Oddish and Bulbasaur, and they love to inflict statuses. Today's dish? Poison. I have a lot of HP to go, and given the mandatory trainers left in this section, I actually felt comfortable not healing and just going for it. Let's see how that goes, huh? Well, first we have to go up against the most infamous trainer in Rock Tunnel. Some call him the self-destructing hiker of Gen 1, some call him Hiker Dudley of Gen 3, I call him the Geo Trio hiker. Some says annoyance up in both games, honestly. Today, I think I spoke a bit too soon, since Hitmonlee actually won it KOs all of his Pokemon. Boy, if there's a fight I'm glad I didn't have to worry about, this one was it. Finally after him is one more junior trainer, but she's not difficult since her Pokemon go down quickly. Just don't miss. Oh god, don't miss. Not after everything you just went through. We make it to Lavender Town, and since Hitmonlee is poison, I don't have a choice but to heal here. I'm not digging here, don't worry. Next mandatory trainer is the one with 2 Clefairy, but she's simple. And with that, we reach Celadon. This is where I have to bring up my rules. This is the segment of the playthrough where this is the most debatable. Skipping the Rocket Hideout. For the sake of not performing major overworld glitches, this means I have to defeat the Rocket Grunt guarding the poster, the one holding the lift key, and the 2 guarding Giovanni, plus Giovanni himself. This isn't a difficult scene, nor do I believe it to be fully bloat anyways. This is a good opportunity to gain a level or 2 through mandatory battles, plus I get to pick up some extra items to sell, and a rare candy. The battles here are uneventful, even Giovanni thanks to having super effective damage against all of his Pokemon. It is worth noting that though this is uneventful, I do take gradual chip damage throughout, including being wrapped by Arbok, so there is the chance of Hitmonlee taking even more damage, though being faster than the competition will at least reduce the max potential. After defeating Giovanni, I felt it was appropriate to then fight Erica. The only trainer I fight is the one to our left with a single execute. Pretty simple herself, but as for Erica, let's actually look at this one. Turn 1 I try to set up with Meditate against Victreebel. I'm not sure why though. I know for a fact Victreebel is a dangerous Pokemon to be against thanks to it having the horrible combination of Sleep Powder, Wrap, and Razor Leaf. It goes for Wrap, wasting some turns, and I still think it's best to keep setting up for some reason. Big mistake, as now Hitmonlee is put to sleep. I do wake up the next turn, but it chooses Razor Leaf. Wow, all 3 moves I was afraid of. Thanks to Gen 1 crit mechanics and Razor Leaf having an increased crit chance, when Victreebel uses it, it's guaranteed to crit. Well, once again, Gen 1 stops that short as well at 255 out of 256, but that shouldn't be relevant again this playthrough, right? Because Wrap didn't last too long, Hitmonlee does manage to remain standing with 2 HP and can retaliate with a Mega Punch. Tangela is next, and I choose Double Kick, which scores a critical hit and is unable to KO it, giving Tangela the KO with Bind. Truth be told, I did only set up with 2 Meditates, so I doubt I would have gotten the KO if I didn't get a crit anyways. The solution to this fight is actually simple. Don't set up against Victreebel. Apparently I didn't figure that out, and this time I get put in my place by, well, Victreebel himself. Why not? Let's try this time. Actually no. Maybe the mistake is that I should have withheld Erica until later. Mega Punch failed to KO with a crit, so it's naturally a 3-hit KO, yeah? That's too much time to be facing off against it. That Razor Leaf brings Hitmonlee down from 85 to 23, so I don't have much left. If I can't win here, I'm going to have to hold off on defeating her. Back at the Tangela, I choose to fully set up with Meditate. I do have my speed lowered by Constrict, but I barely take any damage, and I'm still outspeeding it. I also outspeed Vileplume, land the Mega Punch, don't crit, and get the KO! With that, Erica is taken care of. It was pretty lucky, but this wasn't mandatory at this exact moment, and I'm thankful I was able to get one more level up before going through Pokemon Tower. Editing note, I did actually go through both sets of notes while putting this together. Turns out I held Erica off until after Pokemon Tower. I can see why I did. Now, speaking of Pokemon Tower and my original notes, Rival 4 is next once I pick up the Fly Gem and a Fly User since I failed to catch Pidgey earlier. This time I got Spearow. One thing I had apparently noted here was that Level 4 should be much more difficult despite it being otherwise a simpler battle. This is when the logic behind choosing Charizard becomes apparent. Let's have a look at the team now. Pidgeotto, which has Sand-Attack and Wing Attack, Execute, which can status us and resist our stab, Gyarados, which can inflict massive damage and resist our stab, Kadabra, and right now Charmeleon, but eventually it will grow wings and resist our stab. So how do I manage this fight? Pidgeotto is a one-hit KO with double kick, so my accuracy will at least remain intact. Execute I thought was the best point in the battle to set up Meditate, but I realized that might have been a bad call. It goes for Hypnosis, then attacks with Barrage a couple times. I am able to get to +2, and I thought that would be enough. And it was. Yeah, pretty much if you can't set up, you will not have a good time. And yeah, I just did it. I leveled up at the end of the battle and naturally learned Rolling Kick, which I'm never going to use this run. In fact, before continuing up Pokemon Tower, I need to backtrack a bit and grab the Seismic Toss TM. Thanks to Generation 1 weaknesses and damage calculations, set damage moves like Seismic Toss and Nightshade bypass immunities. This is the only way Hitmonlee can actually deal damage to the Ghost line. Struggle in this generation is categorized as a normal type, not typeless, so even that wouldn't work, and is the reason a Pokemon like Magikarp or Caterpie has their run in here. Once I actually have Seismic Toss, I have to face up against the Chandlers. The first one has 2 Ghastlies. First of the Ghosts managed to confuse me, but I'm able to KO it without dealing damage to myself. Hitmonlee hits himself attempting to attack the second one, then gets hit with Nightshade. I can't afford to get hit more than once now, but thankfully Hitmonlee snaps back to reality and attacks again, with the Ghastly retaliating with Lick, no paralysis, and I get a win. The other Chandlers, the Marowak, and the Rocket Grunts ahead are not worth talking about this time, since they didn't give me any trouble whatsoever. One thing that started bothering me here was that I wasn't able to balance my items, so I had to go sell, store, and do everything else needed before picking up the Poké Flute. Time to bike down, collect another rare candy, and make my way to Fuchsia City. Because I mismanaged my money earlier, I'm actually unable to go into the Safari Zone immediately. God, I must be blind or something, I should have seen that earlier. So I decide, since I'm here, just to attempt Koga's gym. Koga isn't my first issue with the gym, though. It's the jugglers. 2 of them are mandatory and none of them are fun. The first one has 4 Pokemon, 2 Drowsy, a Kadabra, and then 1 more Drowsy. And since this is a juggler, he loves to switch his Pokemon. I try to set up a Meditate against the first creep, and it goes for Headbutt, dealing 11 damage. This seems to be a running theme, but I think that makes me safe to set up one more up. But no! Drowsy uses Confusion, taking Hitmonlee down to 20 HP. I accidentally select Double Kick, failing to KO, but it goes for Headbutt again, and I only take 9 damage. The following Double Kick does manage to KO, and the rest of the team is a series of one-hit KOs with Mega Punch, though with Kadabra I use Double Kick for accuracy, and its physical bulk makes Hitmonlee look like a Skarmory. The second juggler is actually a bit more annoying. He has a Drowsy and a Hypno. The Drowsy knows Psychic, and the Hypno can be fairly bulky. The problem here is that Mega Punch missed 4 times. F that move. The second battle goes smoother. Drowsy goes down to a crit. Hypno gets hit with 2 crits and fails to disable. Okay, game. I'll take the luck. Honestly, even a realistic battle wouldn't have needed that much. As for Koga, I thought at first it was unfeasible to fight him. I tried numerous times to get an idea of damage ranges, and I didn't like what I saw, so I went off to Silphco first. I fight the one mandatory grunt, the one with the Arbok guarding the guard key. I don't know what clicked in my head that I should go back and fight Koga, but I went for it. The strategy I devised goes like this. Set up every Meditate you can against Coughing, and then start punching. This is not an easy task, given Coughing likes to reduce your accuracy with Smokescreen, can poison you with Smog, can damage you significantly with Sludge, which also has a high poison chance, and Koga can give it X attacks to make each hit sting that much more. It takes a couple tries before I get an attempt that... Well, I'd say it went well, but Coughing landed a Smokescreen. Oh, wait, I landed a critical hit and failed to KO the Coughing as a result, so it hits with Sludge and poisons me. Blind and quickly dying, Hitmonlee is a natural Stevie Wonder. Muck comes out. Mega Punch misses, of course, and Muck uses Minimize to make it even harder to hit, and then proceeds to miss twice more. Way to go, Stevie, but Muck doesn't attack back and it goes down eventually. All the while, I just took chip damage from poison, so I'm down to 34 HP. The second coughing comes out, and then it leaves after trying to lower my accuracy further. Finally, there's the wheezing. If it uses self-destruct, it's over. If it uses sludge, it's over. Mega Punch misses, wheezing misses my smog. Lucky break there. Mega Punch lands, barely doesn't KO the wheezing. F you. But Koga uses an X attack and Hitmonlee is able to barely edge a victory. Oh man. This was not a deserved win, but I'll take it. With his badge, I now have a boost to my speed. Quick editor's note. I went over my old notes when it came to this fight, and turns out I only used Meditate 4 times and was able to get through. I assume this is because I had discovered earlier on that wheezing can't be when it KO'd after 6 boost, so 4 was likely the amount to be able to safely KO everything else up to that point. From here, I can heal and go through the Safari Zone, dealing with the nonsense that comes from that. Honestly, I'm just delaying the inevitable at this point. You see, I'm trying to not go to Self-Co. The next mandatory battle on the run, no matter how I look at it. In order for the run to continue, we have to defeat Rival Fivel. Things start horribly. Double Kick didn't even deal half, and it's retaliating with Wing Attack, which deals more than 1/3. A repeat brings it down, but Hitmonlee only has 38 HP. Execute isn't KO'd by a crit Mega Punch, but it brings it down to where the rival uses a potion, giving me the KO. Gyarados then comes in, survives a Mega Punch, and smacks back with a crit Hydro Pump. Gross. So, what is it going to take to beat this one? Setting up a Meditate against Pidgeot was a mistake because now I'm down to 5 HP for the rest of the fight. Execute is still not going to be a one-hit KO. It does set up Reflect, so it's free. Gyarados comes out and Bite KOs me. Third attempt, Mega Punch misses and I lose to Pidgeot. Well, at least it was fast. Next attempt, I get a crit off the bat, so I decide I have enough HP to set up 2 Meditates. Will that be enough? Well, not for the Execute, but those eggs really love reflecting. Guess that's your brain on drugs. Any questions? I have one. Why does Gyarados think it can just come in and end my attempts? I started to get a bit frustrated at this point, but that's when the game threw me a small bone. I reached the Gyarados with more HP than I normally did, and it chose to go for Leer, giving me the KO. Honestly, it could have also picked Dragon Rage and I would have been fine. Alakazam I thankfully outspeeding KO, and Charizard also decides to fold with Leer. I lucked through the 5th rival, but you know what? Like with Koga, I'll take it. This would have otherwise been a horrible bottleneck for the run, and I'm glad it didn't take as long as I thought it would. The rest of the run can't be this frustrating, right? Lapras is mine, and now for the last Rocket Grunt and second Giovanni fight. Giovanni isn't anything special unless you choose not to heal before going in, and in that case you can make a mistake and have to try again, but it's not like the fight is otherwise difficult. From there, I have to make a choice, but since I have Lapras, Surf, and can get Strength to teach, I go for Sabrina. I have no idea what the hell I was thinking. I'm here, might as well. Well, if I went to Blaine, I would have gotten a badge to help defensively against her, maybe some more experience, but no, I went against her here and now. Let me tell you all something. She took so long to defeat. Kadabra may not have outsped, but if I miss, it's over. Mr. Mime's Confusion is an easy 2-hit KO, and given it can set up barrier to protect itself from even my setup, it becomes a wall. Even the terrifying Ghost Psychic Venomoth can withstand your attacks, and as far as the Alakazam, it will outspeed, it will KO, you will die. Oh, I won. This was legit my one attempt. Wow. Okay, moving on. We are going to be surfing to Cinnabar and explore Pokemon Mansion. In spirit, I'm not showing a single bit of footage for this section. The reason is because when I played this section at higher speeds, it hurt my eyes. I felt like I was looking at an optical illusion, okay? I'm showing specific screenshots just to show that I'm picking up some vitamins, rare candies, and some TMs to sell later, as well as the key for Blaine's gym. And it's time to fight him. Blaine in Red and Blue is often regarded as one of the worst gym leaders in the series. He, like several trainers before him and Misty, has what is called good AI. The AI will only choose moves that are super effective against my Pokemon, even if they deal no damage. In this case, Growlithe will only use agility, giving me the opportunity to set up completely. Even worse, Blaine also has a good chance of using a super potion, even when his Pokemon is at full HP. Very intelligent plays, Blaine. With +6, Jump Kick is able to one-hit KO his entire team, and I'm able to even outspeed the Arcanine and Rapidash despite how low a level I am. With 7 badges in hand, it's time to go back to the past where it all began, to face off against our last gym leader, Giovanni. His 2 mandatory trainers aren't anything noteworthy. In fact, I think they were harder than Giovanni himself. This is Red and Blue Giovanni, so he is completely pathetic. With that, we made it to the final 6 trainers of the game. The majority of the trainers this playthrough have been little dips in the road. Hitmonlee has had to slow down quite a few times. Misty was a sizable bump. Koga was a muddy ditch. Sabrina should have likely been a chasm, but she was nothing more than a pedestrian in Grand Theft Auto. Rival 6 is the first time Hitmonlee feels stuck. At least, right now it does. At level 45, the battle is somewhat manageable, at least until Alakazam, where you level up right before it comes out, it outspeeds you, and now you have to try again. Even if you luck out against it, Charizard comes in and you're just not going to be able to beat it. After about 15 minutes of attempts just to look at damage ranges, probabilities, testing strategies, I ultimately decided it was time to use some rare candies. I don't know, 1, 2 rare candies? Well, here's what I had to do. As far as preparation, I came to realize I had made a critical error in keeping Mega Punch instead of replacing it with Strength. Now for the battle, I take 5 rare candies, so now I'm at level 50. You need to KO the Pidgeot. It will spam Wing Attack until you die, and you need to live long enough to set up fully, so it needs to go. It's a 2-hit KO with either Jump Kick or High Jump Kick. Next is Charizard. Totally Charizard, right? And this is what you want to set up on. You'll take chip damage, but if you only took the 1 hit from Pidgeot, you should be fine. It's worth noting here that High Jump Kick actually did miss, so we finally get to see how much recoil damage Hitmonlee takes when he misses.
1!
Execute and Gyarados are both 1-hit KOs provided no crit. Alakazam, the Pokemon that made me use the rare candies and the Pokemon that made me waste so much time figuring out my chances if it didn't use either Psychic or Psybeam. Outsped by, finally, is Rhyhorn. And while I do land a crit, giving Blue an opportunity to KO Hitmonlee, he just uses Rage. Okay, I'll take it. Thanks. With Rival 6 done, there are no mandatory battles between now and the Elite Four. What we need to do is collect the last rare candy, bring me to a total of 10 for the run, 5 remaining on hand. Once we hit the Indigo Plateau's end, we fly over to Celadon and pick up more vitamins. 1 more Carbos, 2 more protein, and some more calciums. It is worth noting I did take some Carbos earlier in the run just so I could maintain some speed. I double checked my inventory to be sure I could heal my HP and power points. I double checked my moveset. I put in my 8 gym users. This is about as much preparation I can get for this kind of run. So, how hard is Lorelei? Trick question, she's a freebie. Good AI once again ruins Dugong as she is forced to only use Rest, giving me the setup I need to sweep her team. Cloyster may be more physically defensive, but its weakness to fighting type moves is for once holding it back. Slowbro actually can survive, this one is a range, but even if it does, it's more 50-50 that you get attacked. It never did with me. Jinx is so physically frail, I don't think we even need to meditate for it. Finally, there's Lapras, which goes down to a single high jump kick. Lorelei is going to be a complete cakewalk for when I have to refight the Elite Four, and believe me, there is only a win. Now, you may expect me to continue my favorite running gag from Scott's Thoughts with the lost little hiker in the next room, but no. Today, I'm saddened to say I have to talk about Bruno. The Onyx may go down without a fight, but the problem is I hit Hitmonlee with high jump kick thinking it would KO. It doesn't, and he retaliates with counter. Counter in Generation 1 only works with normal and fighting type moves, and only if it was the last move to have dealt damage, and since those are the only two moves Hitmonlee can attack with, Bruno can, and did, in fact win. Oh, now I have to start the Elite Four over again on the one trainer I didn't... I didn't even get to do the build-up joke about Agatha being the reason I had to start the Elite Four. Man, Bruno is just a buzzkill. The solution to this egregious player error is just to set up on Onyx, but even that kind of proves to be shaky. I guess I should have only boosted a +4, Deja Vu, but either way I do manage to get through Bruno. Can't believe this fight is much less guaranteed than a lot of the other fights this run. Next is the trainer I was the most afraid of this entire run, Agatha. Sorry Bruno ruined your entrance. This is the reason why Seismic Toss could not be removed, not until we defeat her at least. Her ghost types are all a 3-hit KO with the move, meaning they can put you to sleep, confuse you, attack you with Nightshade, which is also a 3-hit KO, or if you are asleep, just straight die. J-Rose11 calls this the Agatha Lottery, and it certainly feels that way today. The worst part is that the ghosts aren't even the only threats. Golbat's wing attack is dealing more than a comfortable amount. He has 2 attacks that can confuse you, and has Haze, which while it may cure your confusion, it also removes your badge boosts, even your natural ones. The Arbok is also not free, and can even paralyze you with Glare, which is what led to my first loss of 9. Yeah, 9 separate losses against Agatha. It's not the most losses an opponent had given me as a whole, but it was the most for a single sitting. Koga and Rival 6 I returned once I had a game plan or some wisdom for their fights. This one I simply couldn't. I tried setting up against Golbat, but got Haze and Confuse Ray spammed. I tried going gung-ho, only for the Haunter to stop me. The final Gengar decides I had too much good luck and chooses to Nightshade me until I can't try again. I was very close to the 10th attempt to use my rare candies if I lost, but I figured I had just hit double-digit attempts. I might as well just try one more time. What could Agatha possibly do to catch me off guard this one? Gengar starts with Confuse Ray, so at least Agatha's starting fair here. Hitmonlee doesn't hit himself, and then she decides to eat the dreams of the Forwaken. Golbat will be a 3-hit KO with Strength. Once again, Hitmonlee stands strong and focused, avoiding self-damage, and Golbat uses Haze. Like I said, this one isn't so bad this time, since we're going to level up right after it anyways. Plus, Haze cures my confusion, and I was getting a little lucky there anyways. I go for another Strength, and Golbat goes for a Wing Attack, but misses? What? Okay, last pause, I promise. What you just witnessed is the other notorious battle glitch of the game, the Generation 1 miss. Remember when I brought up that even guaranteed crits weren't guaranteed due to there being that 1 in 256 chance? That same chance applies to the accuracy of every move that doesn't automatically bypass accuracy like Swift. And as you saw, you're not the only one with that chance to miss. Even the AI falls victim to its own game. The only question I have is whether or not this will make a tangible difference in the battle. Let's see. Golbat goes down swiftly and Hitmonlee levels up, so the haze has been neutralized. Haunter comes out and fails to land Hypnosis. After Agatha heals it back up with a Super Potion and it takes a third Seismic Toss, she switches it out for Arbok. Great, please don't paralyze me. Screech to have my defense. You know what, Haunter and Gengar don't use their physical attack, I'll take it. Haunter is polished off, leaving the last Gengar, which misses Toxic and decides to also attempt to eat the dreams of the living. Done. Okay. Wow. That Generation 1 miss did not make a difference in the fight, but I will take a fluky, flawless victory. That is the luckiest win I've ever had against Agatha, and I'm so thankful I was able to record it. Still, I felt it was undeserved, and if either of the following fights is anything near what Agatha was, I'm calling the run too inconsistent to feel comfortable. It's been shaky up to this point. Koga, Rival 5, and Rival 6 have definitely been the big ones. But Agatha? No, she pushed the bar. As usual. After this fight, I make two mistakes. Firstly, I should have deleted Seismic Toss and replaced it with Mimic. Second, I should have taken my last 5 candies right here and now. Okay, really, I probably should have used them for Agatha, but point still stands. Will that be enough to stop me? Lance is the penultimate fight, starting with one of Hitmonlee's many nemesis this run, Gyarados. I have to get through it as fast as possible. I set up a Meditate, don't know why, but it misses Hydro Pump, then goes for Leer. And I win. No, I'm not kidding. Both Dragonair and Dragonite can only use Agility, in Dragonite's case the Forbidden Barrier, giving me all the time to boost. Based on how this battle went, this tells me I was safe enough to attack Gyarados 3 times as long as I didn't take too much damage, which actually was an okay chance all things considered. Might have been able to survive a Hyper Beam, for example. Could have gone for Leer. And Dragon Rage. It's possible. Nothing outrageous, and it's only one Pokemon, I think. Not bad. With Lance defeated, only the champion remains. Can it be done? Let's see. Pidgeot is up first, and while it can damage Hitmonlee good, Alakazam is what I'm worried about more, and that's right after this. Given I was slower than it last time, I don't want to take that chance this one. I'm setting up a Meditate now. Pidgeot goes with Mirror Move and also sets up. I get a bit greedy and go for a second one, and it goes for Wing Attack, dealing 59 damage. Not a good amount, but I expected worse. Now it's time to show Pidgeot my new kicks. Thanks to the badge boost, Alakazam comes in, then I outspeed and KO it with Strength. Rhydon is next, and this is the best place to finish setting up. Once Rhydon is cleared, Executor is next. Strength lands, but it crits, meaning I don't KO. Executor sets up Hypnosis, you simpleton motherfucker! I wake up the next turn, there's that feeling of deja vu again, and Hitmonlee barely tanks a crit stomp with 8 HP to spare. If I crit again or miss, I can go ahead and assume I lose. Okay, that crit doesn't count, that's not what I was talking about. Gyarados goes down in a hit. Thank Christ, the thing has been trouble all run, and that leaves Charizard. Even after the level up, Hitmonlee outspeeds, lands Strength, no crit, and finishes the run at level 62. There it is, folks. It can be done. It took some luck in a few battles and some extra planning, but I was able to do it with some patience. This is far from the most luck-reliant run I've ever done for minimum battles in my spare time. Butterfree required Sleep Powder, but was still just barely able to get through despite the Alakazam. Kingler struggled so much against Agatha. Horsey and Lord Helix needed Bide to work for them. Hitmonlee honestly felt riskier. I mean, it was a fighting type that managed to beat the game on minimum battles, and out of the fighting types, it likely had the simplest time if we don't count a Poliwag line run to give Poliwrath amnesia. Now, can you imagine if Hitmonlee did this with an actual competitive time? Don't look at me, I choose life. So, you like badge boost, eh? Well, have all the badge boost in the world! I don't understand it. Mewtwo went mad in 15 minutes.